Hello, and welcome to this training on the fundamentals of early literacy, brought to you by the Anchorage Public Library. This training consists of 3 short videos to watch, and there's a quiz at the end. This third video is about practical strategies for building early literacy skills. If you haven't watched parts 1 and 2, pause here and watch them before continuing on. As a quick recap from our last video, remember that there are 6 components of early literacy: oral language, vocabulary, print awareness, letter knowledge, phonological awareness, and background knowledge. To help children foster these skills or components, the library encourages families to use 5 practices every day. The practices are reading, singing, playing, talking, and writing. This video will go into more detail on the practices and give specific examples of activities that families can do together. We'll save reading for the end and jump right in with the practice of singing. Hearing the different sounds of words, as we saw, is called phonological awareness, and singing is a great way to develop that skill. Singing songs and reciting rhymes slows down language, and the melodies and rhythms make it easier for children to hear and separate syllables. Songs, rhymes, and poems help a child hear the different parts of words, including the different beginning and ending sounds. Singing also makes learning language fun, and because we tend to sing the same songs over and over, there's repetition that reinforces a child's neural pathways. There's also the motivation of success. When a child learns a new song and can sing it on their own, they feel a sense of accomplishment. When you sing songs with your children, sing in the language that you are most comfortable using. You can sing songs from your childhood and from your culture. Here's one of my favorites, 5 Green and Speckled Frogs. This one is a counting song, but it can also be an action song. You can hold up 5 fingers above your arm, which is acting as a log, and count down, or you can have children line up and pretend to be frogs as they jump off the log. Finger plays are another song-like activity that incorporates some movement or hand gestures. In this finger play, toddlers can make their hands become snails or mice that crawl and scamper up their arms. This is also a great rhyme to use for practicing crossing the midline, which is important for children to learn to use both sides of their bodies together and to increase the development of their fine motor skills. The second practice is play. Play has a significant role in the development of children and helps them develop many skills. These include their social and emotional skills, conceptual thinking, gross and fine motor skills, and even their language skills. A big component of a child's social development is being able to play well with other kids of their age or working cooperatively. When children are taking part in play activities with their peers or with grown-ups, they're learning how to take turns, how to share, and how to negotiate with others. For example, you can have the blue truck if I can have the red one. They're also learning how to respect the thoughts, feelings, ideas, and personal space of others around them. Conceptual thinking is a kind of abstract thinking where children can grasp and hold an idea in their head and know that it represents something concrete. This is the beginning of problem-solving skills and later mathematics. Looking for a cup for each doll that's at a tea party is a math skill, as is matching a driver to each vehicle. Children use their play objects to experiment with cause and effect and make guesses like, if I keep stacking these blocks, what will happen? You can help by asking open-ended questions like, how would you solve this problem? Or what other ideas can we try? And allow time for the child to think on their own before trying to jump in and solve it for them. Through pretend play, children develop language skills as they use new words and respond to others' comments. Children learn storytelling skills by creating a storyline and characters, sequencing skills by putting events of their story in order, beginning, middle, and end. They learn logical thinking. They think through what each character would do or say in a particular situation, and they understand the flow of the story, the responses, motives, and actions of the characters. When you set up a place for your child to play, make sure to have toys and activities that accommodate a range of ages and stages of development, and which encourage open-ended play. Avoiding toys and activities that are rigidly structured, or those that have one intended outcome, as many electronic toys do. You can choose things like blocks, board books, matching games, puppets, sensory play activities, flannel boards, etc. For young babies, playtime activities are mostly focused on sensory experiences, what they can see, touch, listen to, or taste. And don't forget the all-important tummy time for babies. Not only does it help develop muscle tone, but it allows babies to see and explore their world from a different position. Older babies who are crawling and sitting up have more play opportunities. At this age, you can introduce things like stacking toys and shape sorters, which allow children to strengthen their hand-eye coordination, fine motor skills, and problem-solving skills. This is also a fun time to introduce musical instruments like shaker eggs, tambourines, xylophones, or baby pianos to let children experiment with sounds and rhythms. Young toddlers have more control over their muscle movements and are ready to play with chunky wooden puzzles. These puzzles are great because they can both be ways to hone problem-solving and matching skills, but the pieces themselves are also able to be played with separately. Balls and blocks are fun to roll or stack respectively, and it's a perfect time to introduce cars and trucks to drive or even larger ones to ride on. Older toddlers can handle smaller blocks to stack and play with, like Mega Blocks or Duplo, and they're learning how to hold onto and use crayons, markers, or colored pencils. They're also ready to start using pretend play objects, like play food, dress-up clothes, and baby dolls. This is a great opportunity for adults to get involved in play with a child. Adults can play along and ask open-ended questions to help children tell the story. Preschool-age children still enjoy playing pretend and dress-up, plus coloring and other art activities. But their more developed brains are ready to learn to play board games and cooperative play games where they interact with their peers, follow rules, and take turns. Playground games like What's the Time, Mr. Wolf, Freeze Tag, and Red Light, Green Light are also perfect to introduce at this age because they teach self-regulation skills and are fun gross motor activities to get those wiggles out. The third practice we'll discuss is talking. Talking and having conversations helps children learn about language. They gain decoding and comprehension skills and pick up new vocabulary. As we heard in more detail during the first video, studies show that children whose parents had more back and forth interaction with their child earlier in life had larger, faster-growing vocabularies and did better on IQ tests than those children whose parents responded less and spoke fewer words to them overall. Just listening to language, such as listening to two adults speak or listening to the TV, is not enough. Because talking is not just speaking, it's listening and responding as well. This matters even when you're with a baby. With babies and young toddlers, you can repeat the sounds the child is making, and when asking questions, you can model responses back for them. You can also try speaking in a sing-songy way called parentese that babies have been shown to respond to. This differs from baby talk because baby talk purposely distorts language. For example, in baby talk, you might say, "Oh, what a cute widow baby." But parentese sounds more like, "Oh, hi! How did you sleep? I missed you during your nap." For children of all ages, you can talk about what you're doing and narrate your activities to model new vocabulary and model your thought processes. During conversations, ask open-ended questions so children need to use more words in response, not just a simple yes or no or single word answer. Writing skills start to develop right away as a baby begins to learn fine motor skills. Grasping and holding things are the beginning of writing. Developing fine motor skills can start with activities like putting things into or taking them out of a box, playing with Play-Doh, or coloring, drawing, and scribbling. It's important to make art time a regular play activity, but keep it flexible and open-ended, just as we do with other play activities. Talk to children about their art and the process they use to make it. You and your child can come up with stories about the drawings they make. You can also encourage children to label their drawings. Writing captions on a child's drawing helps reinforce the connection between spoken and written language. What we might recognize as writing begins with scribbles. Young children hold the crayon in their fist and begin making random scribbles. They use their whole arm to make the movements on the paper. As children grow, they learn to hold the crayon or pencil in the way that adults do, and they use smaller movements to scribble and color the page. Instead of using their whole arm, they will move from the elbow or the wrist. Around age 2 or 3, children can start to make repetitive lines and patterns, including circles and swirls. Around ages 3 and 4, children draw things that resemble objects and people. They start to plan ahead about what they want to draw and where it will fit on the page. We do some of our best teaching while we're reading to a child. The advantages of being read to from birth continue well into the grade school years. Books are without a doubt the most effective tool for teaching language. Reading hits every point, every early literacy skill: vocabulary, phonological awareness, print and letter awareness, and using children's existing knowledge to make sense of a story. Print motivation goes through the roof when children are read to by someone they care about and trust. Shared reading between a caregiver and child can also help to strengthen a bond. When you read to a child, you demonstrate to them that printed words tell a story. You're showing them how to hold a book and which direction the words go. You may have heard it said before that we should read to our children for 20 minutes every day. Instead of putting a specific time limit on it, we would encourage families to read with their children as often as they can. You don't have to force yourself to read for 20 minutes straight if you and your child are not enjoying the experience. Instead, you can read in smaller chunks at a time throughout the day. A few minutes here and there will soon add up. You also don't have to read every book word for word from cover to cover either. In fact, when your child is an infant, they may just want to bang on the book or point to the pictures, and that's okay. Even older toddlers and preschoolers may want to talk about the pictures, make up stories, or only look at part of the book, and that's fine. Any time you spend sharing a book with your child is building their brain. Interactive reading is an early literacy technique used when reading a book. In interactive reading, you ask questions to encourage participation and engagement with the story. Interactive reading is fun for children because they get to play a part in telling the story. You can also extend the story by adding other activities or retelling the story in another way with puppets or by drawing pictures. Children learn the most from books when they're actively involved and can explore books with their caregiver. Virtually all children's books can be explored this way effectively, especially when you choose a book that has rich, detailed illustrations or a book on a topic that's interesting to your child. Interactive reading is more enjoyable for children than traditional straight-through reading, as long as you mix up your questions, include some straight reading, and follow your child's interest. You can hold your child's interest by reading with expression. This can be changing your tone or volume to match the story, or even giving each character their own voice. As you go through the book, ask questions and talk about what's interesting to the child in the book. But don't push children with more questions than they can handle. We want to keep shared reading time fun and not turn it into a quiz. Also, try not to rush through the story. Small children need extra time to think through the questions and provide answers. Knowing how and what kinds of questions to ask children while you read together is important. When you ask a question, pause to allow time for the child to respond. If your child is nonverbal, you can model a response back for them and keep the conversation flowing that way. For verbal children, expand on their response by rephrasing or adding information to it. Open-ended questions are preferred whenever possible instead of close-ended questions because they allow for the child to practice using more vocabulary words, and they require more critical thinking skills to answer than simpler yes or no or one-word responses. An open-ended question can be as simple as, "Tell me what you see on this page." A recall question works well when you've read a book before and want to ask the child to recall what happened. Or it can work when you've just finished reading the book and want to talk about it while it's still fresh in the child's mind. These questions work pretty well for almost any kind of book, except maybe for alphabet books. You can also relate what is happening in the story to an event that's happened in the child's real life. You might be looking at a book of animals, and you can talk about the animals you saw at the zoo this week. Maybe in your story there's a young child visiting a grandparent, and you can talk about the fun things your child did with their grandparent during your last visit. Another great kind of question would be the WH questions. This would be who, what, why, when, where, and how. Just as with open-ended prompts, these questions can center on the pictures in the book. What's this called? Where is he going? Why did the blue truck feel sad? Thanks for joining us on our series on the fundamentals of early literacy. To receive a completion certificate and enter to win our toy giveaway, follow the link to a short quiz in the description box below. If you have any questions about the content in this video or any of our other videos, please don't hesitate to reach out to us using the contact information below. Want to know more about early literacy? Follow the Anchorage Public Library on Instagram to catch our weekly pre-K Sunday posts, and visit our website for early literacy tips and information, including upcoming classes and events, including story times at all our branch locations. Happy reading!